Hey everyone, I'm David Justice, co-founder of The Young Merchant. We're creating enticing and informative information and content for young aspiring entrepreneurs and go-getters. Today we have another great interview. I'm super excited personally because I think today's interview will inspire me, but also a lot of other people. So today we have Catherine Gray, founder of Cat's Creations in Merchantville. Like I said, I'm super excited. Super artistic, great product. So I would like her to formally introduce herself and give us a little bit about her story.
Thank you so much for having me. So again, my name is Catherine Gray. I reside in Pensacola and I've been in the area since 1994 when we moved over to Jersey. I went through most of the Pensacola public school system, graduated class of 2005, and then happened to fall into baking about 10 years after that in 2015.
And I think your story is crazy. I mean, I'm always on the internet. I'm looking at articles. I mean, some of it was personal and also for the blog, but I'm always looking for like who's next or who's you haven't heard of or you've heard of, and trying to hear their story to inspire me personally. And I stumbled upon your story from an interview in I think it was New Jersey Penn. So it was a great article and it was really inspiring because my wife and I were really we're our audience. We're aspiring entrepreneurs ourselves. We have some other things behind the scenes, but I'll tell you personally. But we have a few things. I'm a realtor myself, so my wife is in mortgaging. So we're kind of where you started. I feel like a couple years ago, where you were in the corporate world and you're in finance and retail, and you're working on your vision at the same time. So I'm super excited for this interview.
Absolutely.
So one thing I thought was interesting is that you are a self-taught baker. Is that correct?
Correct. That is correct. So my best friend Jamila at the time, back in 2016, I'm sorry, not 2015, 2016, I had just given birth to my third daughter. It was a stay-at-home parent at the time because we simply just could not afford to send three children to daycare. It was too costly. And it honestly became an issue of our family grew and I needed to be able to make some extra money to offset the expenses. I literally called her hysterical one day. I mean, I was sobbing. Rent was coming up in like 2 weeks. And I'm like, I have nothing to my name and I'm not going to have anything. And I don't know what to do. And I mean, it was just so effortless. She just said, go bake a cake. And I literally told her, I'm like, I don't know how to bake. Like, when I was in school and went through college, I had aspirations of becoming a doctor. I majored in chemistry. So for me, it's like, you want me to do something outside of what, I went to school for. So I asked her, I said, well, how am I supposed to figure out how to do it? She said, go to YouTube, you'll figure it out. So I literally went to YouTube and I looked up beginner cake decorating classes. And I literally, I started binge watching them. It was every day, all day, round the clock, while my kids napped, while they were sleeping at night. I would stay up and practice. And I did enough until I worked up the courage to be able to do my first cake.
And I think that was one thing that was really interesting, is how I feel like I'm going crazy in certain things. When I first got in real estate, you talked about being just embodied in it. Even when you were new, you didn't know anything. You didn't just kind of, read just one book and kind of just try it. You really embodied yourself in it. Do you think that's an important step for a lot of entrepreneurs just to, I mean, you can watch one YouTube video and kind of get a feel for it, but do you think there's an importance to just embody yourself and your craft?
Absolutely. And I definitely look at it now as more of a reflective state. You got to be confident. And before you convince anyone else, you have to convince yourself. So for me, it was if I'm going to do something and I want people to take me seriously, because I'm a very logical person, that's my thing. I said, I need people to take me seriously. So for me, it wasn't one video. I made sure, like I said, I knew multiple techniques under my belt even before I did the first cake, just because, like I said, I wanted people to take me serious. It was important.
Do you feel like what you went to school for, even though it's not what you necessarily decided to take that path? Do you feel like it helped you with being successful your business now?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in, everything happens for a reason. So, I believe that it helps me to this day. And, even just simple things in baking. Baking is chemistry. What's going to make the cake rise? What's going to not make it rise? What's going to make it separate? So essentially, I am still doing what I love, just in a different way.
I like that. I like that. So for one reason why we created this is we don't try to advocate that we're the only entrepreneur blog or website. You know, there's a ton of them. You know, what we were looking to do is to connect with real people, and also give a personal, real experience, real advice, real stories that aren't just people just kind of saying they're doing. You're really living what people would like to do. So again, we appreciate that. And what we wanted to do is we're not big on just there's one way to do it. We're big on, there's so many ways that you can make money. There's so many ways you can change the world. And we would like people to meet people from different industries to give them an insider on how you become successful in that, or how do you get into that industry. I think this is something that my wife is going to love, because she loves baking. But I think she more likes tasting them and more likes having them in different varieties. So I'm curious for that audience that it's really, whether it's baking, whether it's, produce, whether it's something food related. Do you have any advice for that, for running like a restaurant or something like that? I know it's a hard business. Food business is a rough business.
It's very hard, but honestly, the best learning tool I had is to actually have gone through it. I thought I had an understanding of what it was to be a business owner. And literally the minute I got that storefront, everything I knew went out the window. And it was almost, again, here I go having to self-teach myself. It's the things they don't tell you when you start, the zoning permits and the different levels of inspections. And that's the important part of it. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I can say it's a lot, but for me, it's keeping what my purpose is in mind and knowing what I'm supposed to do. So that's the motivation to want to learn more and to want to network more. Like you said, it's all about networking. Some of the people I went to college with, some of, my childhood friends are now the people in the positions that now run my store in terms of finances and help me in terms of advertising. So I definitely, yeah, it's a big portion.
I think that's one thing I've been pushing personally for people is networking. I feel like growing up, it was social media or networking was just to be cool or popular. And then we kind of got away from it. There was this bad, connotation with it. But now, you see the power of influence and social media. And it's kind of easier to connect with people, how we met might not have happened without social media. Do you think that's an important asset that people are not taking advantage of?
Yeah, so for me, social media is everything. And I always say social media built my business. When I did my first cake for my first paying customer, which was a classmate from high school, Jada, if it wasn't for her sharing that picture on social media and getting over 1 million shares and going viral, I never would have started my cake career. So essentially, social media built my career for me. I did one cake, and literally by the end of the night, I had so many orders. So I think people do need to capitalize off social media and use it for more than just everyday connections. I mean, you never know. The people today you meet may be in a position to help you 20 years from now. So I'm very big on, building branches to different people and maintaining them, not just building them, but maintaining them. I may be able to provide a service for you or vice versa. I may be able to even just offer information and vice versa. So yeah, that's a huge piece. And we're so fortunate to have social media, because it's even hard building a business through social media. So I could only imagine what it was like the old fashioned way, when you had to get a billboard and you had to pay to have your number listed in the phone book. So I'm thankful for social media. Absolutely.
I think that was an important part that you said is, the relationship part. Like in my industry, everybody's just looking to sell your house. It's annoying. People get random calls from realtors saying, can I list your house? Can I list your house? And one of my biggest mentors is a guy named Ricky Karuk that really speaks relationships over transactions, is what he talks about. And even from a business perspective, at least if you don't care about the relationships, it builds long-term business at the very least, but you should care about connecting with people. So I think is a good point that you made is that, always try to look to give something when you're requesting something too. And it always doesn't mean money. It could be advice. It could be being the middleman to connecting them with somebody. It could be, tagging them on a post. There could be so many different ways. So I think that was a great point to make sure that you always give when you're requesting.
Absolutely. Even exchange. I try to always keep it. It's even.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you feel like, because your cakes are, and you have a bunch of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, because I had it one time. Was it Creole? Am I saying it Creoles? They're like, Yes.
The
Okay.
cannoli.
Yeah. Yeah. Those are gorgeous, and they tasted delicious. But I don't think, not even just the taste. You're really artistic with your products. You know, they're all unique. They all look rich in flavor. They taste great. Do you think do you think a lot of people sleep on that part? They're worried about making the money and don't focus on making a great product?
Absolutely. And honestly, I was caught up in the beginning. It was more for me of a quantity over quality. I really had no idea or a vision for where I wanted my business. So in the beginning, it became a game of, well, let's just see how many cakes I can do this weekend. I mean, some days I would literally be up from Friday morning to like Monday evening, straight through, just trying to complete orders. And I felt like I wasn't always giving the best version of myself because I was tapped. I was exhausted mentally and energetically. And then when I really began to think about my purpose and where I wanted my business to go and the vision I had, it was more about the engagement, more about the customer, more about, sharing conversation. So that's when I began to kind of strategically, figure out how to schedule myself and how to do things. Like I said, to me, it's not even so much about the cakes, it's the connection that I make with the person behind the cake. And I have very, very distinct relationships with all of my customers. So yeah, for me, that's yeah. But I see how people can get caught up in it. You're running a business, you're trying to work for yourself, you have bills. So it's difficult when you're looking at the bills and your electric bill is $2,000 behind. I've been there. Difficult when your car is 7 months behind. I've been there. And it's just like, I have to do what I have to do. But when you honestly pace yourself and you do it for the purpose that you're doing it for, it all aligns, and it literally all aligned.
And I think that would resonate with a lot of people because especially during COVID, a lot of people are having rough times right now. So it's, let alone paying your, even if you want to start a business right now, you're worried about paying your personal bills before starting a business, and then if you are, like for me, real estate, I got in February, March, and pretty much around that time, it was funny because I tried to do it fast. I stopped my job, I went for it, and instead of doing a 3-month program, it took every day. I did it in 2 weeks. I was like, I'm going to get this class, and I'm just going to keep, because I was all in. I was like, I'm going all in, and that was, I think it was like March 15th, March 16th, the day I started class. That's when everything shut down, and it delayed everything for 3 months. So I think, it could be hard for people to, to try to go for their things. But I think that was really inspirational. I think one thing is interesting. Congratulations. I don't know if my date is correct, but you actually have an official storefront now. February 7th, was that correct?
I believe that's correct too. I've pushed my opening back so many times. I was originally supposed to open in November. That was the inexperienced business owner. I thought in 30 days I was going to rehab a complete store, get all these permits, inspections, everything done, all while COVID. So yeah, we actually just opened last Tuesday, and then we had our grand opening on Saturday, which was great. It was amazing. Thank you. Thank you.
Do you think with COVID now, and I know, like I said, you were already in business before. You were doing mainly, I'm assuming, direct to consumer, online sales, social media. Do you feel like things are opening up and getting better for people that want to go back to in person and retail and government agencies?
I believe so. And I think part of it is knowing your clientele. When you know your clientele, you know what they're going to deal with. I personally have not experienced any slowdown from COVID in terms of my customers or the amount of orders. I'm in fact even busier than I was before COVID. Like that was what pushed me to get the storefront, because it just got to a point where I would do sales and I would have lines outside of my house. Like some of my customers would actually joke like, wow, like there's literally cars of people and people just on your lawn. So for me, it hasn't affected, and I've been grateful in that. But I definitely tell people, you have to do what's right for you at the end of the day, whatever that may be, whether it's to go back or whether it's to stay home. At the end of the day, you and only you have to be confident with that decision. So I say, as long as you're willing to be accountable for whatever decision you make and you're willing to stand on it, I say go for whatever makes you happy.
And I think that's a lot of people, I mean, I don't know who doesn't. I like money, but you also got to be able to be passionate. You got to be, I think, for longevity, for putting your all in something, it can't just be money. It could be one of the main things, but I think, if you don't love what you do or you don't like your clientele and your audience, I think it only lasts a certain amount of time. So I think it's good to start somewhere where you like it. And for your story, you didn't even, you didn't like, I won't say you didn't like cakes, but you weren't, all in it at that time. But as soon as you got in, it piqued your interest. And then next thing you know, it started something great.
Exactly.
So I had one more question for you. So with your story, it took, a lot of people hear stories where, and I guess with yours, it did kind of blow up, but a lot of stories, people expect, they want to be a billionaire overnight. They want to, have, everything they want in, 5-10 days. And with your stories, if I'm correct, it was 5 years, right, before the storefront. So you were successful from the jump, but, as far as the storefront, goal, 5 years, and you were working another job. Is that correct in the beginning?
At one point, I had a full-time job during the day and then a full-time overnight job, and I ran my business on the weekends. So I maintained 3 jobs. I also had my mother and brother who suffered from a stroke literally months apart. So I was also their caretaker in addition to having 3 children. So.
And I heard you were homeschooling too.
Remote's rough. Like that's rough.
That's, I mean, and and whether people have to do, less than that, whether, some people have crazy stories, they might even do even more. I think what it showed is, that's back to the passion thing, is you have to really see the vision and you have to really be willing to put the effort in. When you do a business, you're not always going to be able to, start it up and you're going to have 1 million people call you and you can have 20 people do the business for you. You can stay home, collect the check. That's not the typical, small business. And I think a lot of people have that misinterpretation. So I think your story also shows, though, if you stick in there, I don't know if you had any trials during that 5 years, but that I think that's very inspirational to show, for 5, that's a long time. That's a long time.
You know what? Honestly,
I didn't even count those 5 years. Like, I was always one of those people that, like, I never really considered it a business. It was just what I like to do. If you never paid me another dime for doing another cake, it wouldn't faze me because it's just what I like to do. Like, I like to brighten people's day. So if it's buy a cake or buy a cupcake, that's the goal for me. So, and I think what you said, just touching on about people get into the business expecting to make the money's the last thing I'm thinking about. Like, I don't even think about the money. Like, even by like my friends and stuff, and they're just like, it feels like it's happening overnight. And it's like, that's not my concern. That's how you get caught up in it. My concern is continuing to be me, continuing to provide excellent customer service and giving my customers something to return. And if I'm able to help along the way or, offer words of encouragement or inspire other people, because sometimes that's what we need, just, someone to talk to us or someone to believe in the vision. Because I know it was many days where, I started 5 years ago, but I took many breaks during those 5 years, always going back and forth and being defeated. So I really didn't understand. And that was something that I had to pray for clarity on. Like, why am I going through this? But no, it's possible. Anything is possible. I don't know. I just feel like anybody can do anything. I'm one of those people, like anybody can do anything. It really is a perception. And I noticed once my perception changed, my outcome changed.
That's really what I've been big on. I would say I was a scholar growing up, and then it just cut off, and I didn't read a book for years. And now all of a sudden I'm on this endeavor where I want to read as much as possible and grow my brain. I just want to change my mindset. Certain things, how you talk to yourself, you're not, saying certain things aren't going to necessarily make something bad happen, but they do change how your mentality is. They might change your work ethic. They may change how people look at you and your business. So I think, mentality is everything, and I truly feel like in America, this is, I think worldwide too, there's always a chance to do something, but especially in America, I feel like, anybody can create a business. Anybody can, not everybody's going to be $1 billion business and everybody's going to, but everybody doesn't have to fail.
Exactly.
Everybody has to have the right mentality going in.
Exactly. And
people are so quick to get discouraged. I've seen so many people who have amazing talents and they just won't push themselves beyond what they're comfortable. And like I said, this journey really opened me up. It took me like that last little push to get out because it is frightening. I mean, 2 days before I got my bakery, I lost my job. So because my kids were remote learning. So to lose a job and then I don't know how I'm going to pay rent for October. I haven't even gotten there yet because I've already cashed out 401k and everything, and not even knowing how I'm going to make ends meet. And then 2 days later to be able to walk into a storefront And to be able to do all of this with minimal money it's been amazing. So it's like, if I would have never gotten out of my comfort zone and my, well, what if, forget about the what ifs, just do it. And that's exactly what I did, was just do it. And to sit here and see the bakery open, it's just amazing. It's just like, wow, that's all it took, was a little determination and a few positive affirmations every day.
And I feel like, it might have been long and it might have been frustrating, certain things stressful, but I bet you now when you see the storefront, you don't even, regret it. You probably just feel with joy when you see it, and
the sense of accomplishment. And then to be able to do this in COVID, when literally every person asked me, what would possess you to open a business now? Literally every single person, like, why would you do it now? So being able to block people out and not worry about what everyone else's thoughts or insecurities, that's not my problem to make you feel comfortable. My problem is to walk in my passion and do what I'm supposed to do. And it worked exactly as it should. So, you just gotta mean what you say.
And yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're really passionate around it, you really see it. I don't think you should go into anything blindly, But I mean, if sometimes you can't. But if you can do your research, and kind of get your feet wet, I think if you just have the mentality, no matter what, this is what you're going to do. And if it's not what you want to do, if you find out it's not your passion, some people go through 5 businesses and they just trying, But once you find what you want, just go for it, and I think you'll find a way to make it happen.
People have to stop being people pleasers. I think that's another portion of it. We're so eager to please and make our loved ones happy that sometimes we abandon our own happiness. So it's important. Do what you want, regardless of the support. If it's for you and you want it, you will get it. You will get it.
Absolutely. Do you feel like trying to think? I was just wondering if you had any, do you have one thing that you've been saying to yourself, you tell other people, for just a final advice that you go by, that you tell everybody?
Advice would always be to stick to your guts and literally follow your own intuition. Don't get outside influence. Don't let anyone distract you. Do what you feel it is in your heart that you should be doing, and that your passion will always lead you to success.
I would definitely note that for me personally. But I think we appreciate you so much today, because I think, like I said, your story is definitely inspirational. Also, we want to make sure our audience supports you, what you're doing. So we appreciate that. Your website is catcreationsnewjersey.com, right? And you're at, I think, 21 South Center Street in Merchantville. Okay.
Correct.
So definitely go check out the bakery. Check her website out, Definitely, I wouldn't say support, I would say enjoy it, because it's going to be experience. And then, if for anybody else watching this, we thank you again. We appreciate it. Until next time.